Alright, no big intros and no bullshit. I hate this fucking game, and I mean hate this fucking game. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City just sucks, all the way around. There is not one thing that I like about this game. And it's not for the reasons that virtually everybody else is hating on this game, such as, oh my god, this isn't Resident Evil, there's no survival horror aspects, there's no ammo conservation, this game fucking blows ass. No, I hate this game because it's a poorly built, badly designed third-person shooter that isn't half as good as 90% of the competition out there, and also for the fact that it reminds me a lot of... well, I'll get into that in a few minutes. Let's just get started, shall we? Number 1. It's all the same. So, what was I expecting from this game when I read the previews? I was expecting a shooter, because that's exactly what the previews told me. They told me it was going to be a squad-based shooter. And that's what I got. Albeit a very poor one, but that's what I got nonetheless. And I first saw that there were going to be 4 different characters, with the possibility for a few more characters. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know? They all looked completely different, and what I was expecting was for each character to behave differently from the rest. You know, they all move differently, they all behave differently, they can take different amounts of punishment, they have different special abilities, they all have their own unique weapons, and who knows, maybe the game could have provided some, I don't know, puzzles or combat scenarios or something like that, or opportunities within the combat scenarios where each character's uniqueness could have come in handy. But I'm just going to get this out of the way right now. Don't be fooled by their different appearances. They're just for show. That is my first major gripe with this game, is that everything feels the same. Everything plays the same. The characters move the same. As far as I know, they can all take the same amounts of punishment. The way they fire their guns, the way they help their teammates, the guns they carry, everything, it's all the fucking same. Despite the fact that their dossiers say that they all have a special combat role, they all do the same damn thing. I found out that even after I utilized their special abilities, which I had to buy nonetheless in order to use, but I'll get to that in a second, all the characters really behaved like everybody else. Everything that could have been utilized, like what I described previously, non-existent. It's all pretty much just point and shoot, point and shoot, point and shoot. And I know that's what a shooter is at the end of the day, but even the piss-poor attempts to diversify the game and the characters don't add any diversity or variety whatsoever. Which brings me to my next point. If all the characters pretty much do the same thing and there's nothing to separate any one specific character from the rest, then what the hell's the point of the extra characters? There's like 6 or 7 characters in their grand total, but if every character does the exact same thing and the game only allows for 4 characters at any one point in time, why fucking bother? They're probably not ever gonna get used, so why keep them in there? Number 2. Reminds me of my second major gripe with this game. What the fuck is up with this XP/shop system? Which, by the way, is how you unlock every character's special ability in the first place. And it's also how you buy new guns as well. Unless, of course, you just want to scrounge around for them in the campaign. Capcom, why is this needed? Why did you throw this in there? I mean, was this whole campaign mode just to prepare us for online? Like, really? I can understand this in multiplayer, but campaign? Give me a fucking break, would you? This is just fucking retarded in every sense of the word. And it reminds me of another game you guys were involved in a couple years ago that I really fucking hated with a burning rage. Lost Piece of Shit 2. That's exactly what this game is. Lost Piece of Shit 2 with a code of Resident Evil slapped over it. It's got every single trait and aspect that Lost Planet 2 had, including everything I hated about that game. 4-player co-op, characters that all play the same, an XP shopping system? Yeah, it's all there. But the one thing that Lost Piece of Shit 2 had, that I couldn't stand above all else, and it seems to be one of the most prominent trends in the industry today, the whole game feels like a multiplayer game. You know, when I read the previews, Capcom said that this was going to be their big chance to revisit the most significant event in the Resident Evil series, the darkest place at the darkest time, from a perspective of a bunch of completely new characters. So why does the campaign feel like a training mode for the online multiplayer? That's what damn near every single campaign feels like nowadays. Capcom, do you realize why people still play the original Resident Evils to this day? Why they still go back more than a decade after their respective releases, some of them even 15 plus years, to play those campaigns? Because you actually put work and effort into those campaigns. You didn't just tack it on to make it seem like a training mode for the online multiplayer. You didn't just haphazardly toss it in at the last second as an afterthought. No, you actually put your heart and soul into these campaigns. You included a good in-depth storyline, with a variety of interesting and complex characters. Memorable moments that didn't involve explosions every 2 fucking seconds. Level design that was actually good, offered incentives for exploration, and rewarded players who did explore. It wasn't just, oh hey, thanks for buying the game, come on, right into the multiplayer. Oh, need a training session? Go right into the campaign, that's what we designed it for. No, the campaign was an integral part of the game. If you want to make a multiplayer game, that's great. But don't bother tacking on a stupid little mode and calling it campaign, because that's exactly what I went into this game for. Expecting a campaign, expecting to relive the Raccoon City incident, except show it from a perspective that showed exactly how evil Umbrella truly is. The lengths they went to cover up the entire incident. Show a scene where they, like, massacre a bunch of survivors. Without even flinching, you know, give the characters some personality. Don't just be like, oh yeah, go from point A to point B, hey, more powerful monsters as the levels go by. That is my single biggest gripe with this fucking game, and that is why this game totally fucking sucks in my eyes. I mean, come on. Wake the fuck up, Capcom. Now, as for the rest of the game, it's just your standard lacking third-person shooter. You go from point A to point B, kill every enemy you find, and that's pretty much it. Or destroy an objective, or something. Simply go to some place and hit the A button 90% of the time. Besides that, gameplay mechanics. And yeah, I'm not going to complain about that get real close to an object to duck behind it instead of hitting a button, because unlike most of the other games that utilize this method, this time it actually works. I mean, I have inadvertently taken cover up against a wall or something like that a few times, but I've never encountered that in a life or death situation. Whenever I've needed the cover system to work, it's always worked, so no problem there. I'd say that my 2 biggest problems with the actual gameplay itself is, 1, the guns. Much like the characters all playing and feeling the same, every single gun in this game feels the same. The assault rifles, the SMGs, the shotguns, there's no distinction between the various models, save for the amount of ammunition you can carry, so I constantly found myself heading for the light machine guns and the heavy machine guns, as they were the only guns that carried a clip worth a fuck. Yeah, there's ammo pouches and shit that can be found all over the place, but this is remedied by the extreme lack of ammunition that you can carry for most guns. And the fact that all the LMGs and HMGs all have accuracy that just totally sucks. Pistols are fucking useless too, no matter which one you use. And secondly, the AI. Yes, the friendly AI is stupid, as predictable, but this time around, it's actually the enemy AI that's the dumber of the two. More often than not, they'll simply run right out into the open without bothering to take cover behind anything, and many times fail to distinguish friend from foe. I even encountered a situation where I was shooting a guy up close, and another guy was shooting at me, and I thought it was Hunk, because he actually turned around, started walking down the hallway, reached the end of the hallway, turned around, and started shooting at me again. Besides that, the enemy AI is okay, I guess. I mean, they're not great at firing their guns, but at least we should be thankful they can fire their guns in your direction most of the time. Besides that, the game uses an old-fashioned health system, which I was actually very thankful for and very surprised at. And you can find health power-ups all over the place, but you can only carry one first aid spray, and you can use that to heal yourself and one of your squad mates. Not that it really matters, because you can revive your AI teammates an unlimited number of times, and even pick up their gun as well. Speaking of which, if you need some more ammo for your assault rifle and you're walking over other assault rifles, can't seem to get any ammo, no worries, just pick up the next assault rifle you'll find. It'll have full ammunition. But besides that, that's about it. Story isn't that great. There's a few boss battles, if you want to call them that, to speak of, but nothing really memorable. But the game, overall, really switches back and forth between a really weak third-person shooter, like I guess you can say a Gears of War SOCOM-esque kind of shooter. And I'm talking SOCOM 4, by the way. All the way to a really poor version of Left 4 Dead, it seems like. And really, overall, this game is just... it isn't that great. It sucks. I mean, there's not one memorable thing about this game. There's not even one cool thing about this game. Well, I shouldn't say that because Hunk is always a cool character, so... besides him and seeing him for a single mission and getting to play as him in the Heroes mode, there's nothing good about this fucking game. There's nothing even halfway decent. So, final thought. Unless you can find this in the bargain bin for $10 because that's about all it's worth, simply put, don't play this game.